If you're thinking about buying a home in Charlotte in 2026, like realistically in the next 30 to 90 days, I need you to hear this before you fall into the same trap I'm watching a lot of smart people fall into every single week. The trap is thinking the only thing that matters is the interest rate. Yes, rates matter, payments matter, affordability matters, but if waiting for the perfect rate is your entire strategy, you could lose more money through the stuff nobody's talking about. Like overpaying because you misread negotiation leverage, choosing the wrong financing structure because a marketing headline got you, or signing a buyer agreement because you just don't understand at all, and then that feeling of being stuck and suspicious for the whole process really sticks with you. So today I'm going to give you the 2026 home buyer playbook, what actually changed, what actually matters, and how to make decisions you won't later regret. And I'm going to do it in plain English with real numbers and real logic, calm, no hype. Because this is a serious decision, not a TikTok trend, not a date the rate bumper sticker. Here's the first thing you need to know. Charlotte is not going quietly into 2026, and it's not going quiet in 2026. National Association of Realtors has Charlotte on its list of top home buying hotspots for 2026. Now, that's not a guarantee that the prices are going to explode tomorrow, but it is a signal that Charlotte is still pulling demand, jobs, in-migration, demographic pressure, and a market where affordability is expected to improve a bit even if rates drift downward. Translation, there's still a lot of interest in this city. The Queen City's big for a lot of people. So if you're waiting for like a magical moment where Charlotte gets cheap, rates fall to the floor and competition disappears, I want to be respectful and honest. That moment may not show up in the way you think. The better move is to understand the rules of the game as it exists right now and to play it intelligently. So I'm going to break this into three parts. First, what's happening with the Charlotte market right now in plain English and what it means for your leverage as a buyer. Second, what changed with the buyer representation and compensation and why so many people seem to still really misunderstand it. And then third, the actual step-by-step playbook I would use if I were buying a home in Charlotte in 2026. This is the one you're going to stick around for, including when new construction and incentives are a good deal, when they're not, and how to negotiate like an adult without getting emotional. So let's start with the market itself. If you listen to the internet, you'll hear basically two extremes. Extreme number one, the market is booming again, buy now or you're doomed. And extreme number two, the crash is coming, don't buy anything, just wait. The Chicken Littles, right? The sky's falling. It sells headlines. People love, it's very clickable. But real life in Charlotte is not really living in either extreme. What we're seeing is a market that's been shifting towards something more balanced, more seasonal, and honestly more normal than people got used to during the chaotic years. There's more inventory than the last couple of years. Homes are taking a little bit longer to sell. Sellers aren't automatically getting whatever they want just because they listed a home and took 3 pictures on an iPhone. It doesn't mean sellers have no power. It means the negotiation is back. And as a buyer, listen, that's good news if you know how to use it. Here's a simple way to think about it. When inventory is tight and everything sells immediately, the buyer's only real move is to overpay or walk away. But when inventory builds and homes sit longer, the buyer gets options, and options create leverage. Now, Charlotte is still not what I'd call a full buyer's market across the board. It's not like 6 months of inventory is everywhere. It's not like sellers are desperate across the city. But in many price points and many pockets, the leverage has shifted enough that the old 2021 instincts will cost you money. The old instincts are, what you've heard. I have to waive everything. I have to bid over ask. I just have to accept whatever the seller says. We all know that's not really default anymore. Now it's more, what's the home worth based on the actual comps? How long has it been sitting? What's the seller motivation and timeline? What concessions are realistic right now? How can we structure this to lower your actual cost, not just win an emotional bidding war? That's the mindset. And this is where I want to call something out that some people really hate hearing, but it's true. A lot of buyers in 2026 are going to lose money because they're negotiating the wrong thing. They're obsessed with getting the rate down by a quarter point while ignoring that they overpaid by 20 grand. Or they're obsessed with winning a house while ignoring the house is just functionally wrong for their life. And it might be even a pain to sell later. Or they're focused on the purchase price, like that's the only number that matters, while ignoring the full monthly costs, taxes, insurance, HOA maintenance, commute costs, lifestyle costs. So it's just a reframe. In 2026, the smarter buyers are not rate people, they're total cost people. They're not trying to be heroes, they're just trying to make a good decision. Now, before we even get into the playbook, we have to talk about the other big shift that still has people confused. Buyer agreements, representation, compensation. Because if you don't understand that part, you're going to feel weird in the process and you may not even know why. Here's the clean truth. In August of 2024, industry practice changes rolled out nationally that removed the public offer from compensation from the MLS and required a written agreement with a buyer before touring a home. Most of you know that already, but I'm still getting a lot of people who are confused and don't quite understand it. So what does this mean for you in normal human language? It means that if you want an agent to represent you as a buyer and actually advocate for you, negotiate for you, guide you, you're going to have to sign an agreement that defines that relationship before you go on house tours. It's that simple. And it also means you're going to have a more explicit conversation about how your agent is compensated. Now, here's where people get kind of spun out. Some people think that and they hear, oh, so I have to pay buyer agents now? I mean, not necessarily. Some sellers offer concessions. Some transactions still structure compensation in a way where the buyer isn't paying a check out of pocket. Some buyers do pay directly. Some split it. Some bake into the negotiations. A lot of ways to skin a cat. The point is, it's negotiable, it's transparent, and it should be discussed like adults. The reason this is actually good if you're working with a serious professional, that caveat needs to go in there, is that it forces clarity. And clarity is what protects you. What I don't want is for you to stumble into a situation where you're touring homes with someone, you think they're just helping, but nobody has defined anything. And then you find the house that you really want, and everything gets awkward and stressful and rushed. That's the worst time to figure out the business side of a relationship. So here's my bias, and I'll be transparent about it. I think a buyer agreement is a good thing when it's done correctly, because it creates accountability and it defines expectations. But here's the catch. Not all buyer agreements are the same. So I'm going to give you a simple checklist of what you should understand before you sign anything. Number one, what is the term length? If someone wants to lock you in for 2 years on day one and you haven't even toured a home with them, I'm not saying that's automatically wrong. I wouldn't do it, but you should at least ask why. A good relationship shouldn't require a hostage contract. Number two, is it an exclusive or non-exclusive? Exclusive means you're choosing them as your rep. Non-exclusive means more flexibility. There are pros and cons, but you should know what you're agreeing to. Number three, what is the compensation structure and under what circumstances do you owe it? This is where people get nervous, and look, I get it, but the answer should be understandable. If it feels like legal fog, slow down. Number four, what happens if you want to cancel? There should be a clear professional off-ramp. Someone acts offended that you asked that question, that's information. Not about the contract, about the person. Now let's bring it back to the market and your strategy, because the real question is, how do you buy in Charlotte in 2026 without overpaying, without getting played by headlines, and without waking up 6 months later with regret running through your head like a freight train thinking, why did I do this? Here's the playbook. Step one, stop shopping for a house. Start shopping for a decision. Most buyers do this backwards. They start with Zillow Entertainment. They send 10 houses, their spouses or loved ones or friends, and fall in love with one. And then they try to reverse engineer a financial plan to justify it. That's emotional buying. Instead, start with your decision framework. What's your timeline? Are you here for 3 years or 10? What's your lifestyle needs? Commute walkability, school, space, privacy, yard, noise tolerance even. What's your real monthly comfort zone? Not what the lender says you can qualify for, but what you can live with while still having a life. Because you qualify, just because you qualify for a payment, that doesn't mean it's the right fit. It can make you house poor. And a house poor buyer is a stressed buyer. And a stressed buyer makes bad decisions. So step one is getting honest. If you're relocating to Charlotte, this is even more important because Charlotte is not a one vibe city. South End and Waxhaw are not the same life. Noda and Ballantyne are not the same life. A great house in the wrong location becomes a daily annoyance. And if you want a shortcut, here's the one I use with people. Write down your top 3 non-negotiables. Write down your top 3 deal breakers, and then write down what you're willing to compromise on. Most people never do that, and then they wonder why every house feels almost right. Step 2, get a real pre-approval, not a vibes letter. In 2026, the strongest buyers are always the ones with the highest, aren't always the ones with the highest offer. They're the ones who look clean and easy to close. So when I say pre-approval, I don't mean a lender glanced at your credit score and texted, "You're good." I mean your documents have to be reviewed, your income is understood, and your file is solid. Because when you make an offer, the seller's not just choosing a number, they're choosing risk. And if your financing looks messy, your offer looks risky, even if it's higher. Step 3, understand what matters more than rate. This is where I'm going to challenge the most common obsession I'm hearing right now. People keep saying, I'm waiting for rates to drop, I'm waiting for rates to drop. Okay, reasonable thought, but here's the reality. A small movement in rates changes your monthly payment a little. A bad purchase price changes your financial outcome a lot. And a bad house choice changes your quality of life every day. So yes, we watch rates, but we don't worship rates. And a lot of buyers don't realize you can negotiate in multiple directions. You can negotiate price, seller paid closing costs, repairs or credits, timing. You can negotiate a rate buy-down structure. You can negotiate terms that reduce your real risk. And in a market with more inventory and longer days on the market, those levers come back. Step 4, decide resale versus new construction based on math, not marketing. This is a big one in Charlotte because we have a lot of new construction in and around the metro. And new construction has 2 truths at the same time. Truth number 1, builders can offer incentives that resale sellers usually can't. Rate buydowns, closing costs, design upgrades, sometimes all of it. Truth number 2, incentives are not free. Builders are businesses. The money comes from somewhere. Sometimes it's a truly great deal because the builder's managing inventory and wants to move homes without cutting base prices. Sometimes it's a great rate attached to a home that's priced above comparable resale or attached to a lender structure that costs you in other ways. So how do you evaluate it? You compare your total cost over time, not the headline. If a builder says we can get you 4%, the very next sentence you should say should be, for how long and what is the rate after that? What's the APR and what fees are baked in and what is the home priced at compared to similar resales? That's more than one sentence. If you don't ask those questions, you're not shopping, you're being shopped, kind of being bullied. And I'm not saying builders are evil, I'm saying you just have to be an adult. Because in 2026, incentives are common and they can be powerful, but only if you understand them. Step 5, pick your search zones with strategy, not randomness. This is where most relocation buyers waste months. They pick 10 neighborhoods because they heard the names on the internet, then they tour, get overwhelmed, and everything starts blending together. Instead, pick 2 or 3 maybe primary zones at most and 1 wild card zone. Primary zones are where you can realistically see yourself living one day. Wild card is the I didn't expect to like this, but let's test it zone. Why does that work? Because it keeps your brain from being overloaded and it helps you learn the market faster. When you watch the same zones consistently, you start to understand what's overpriced, what's fair, what sells fast, what sits, and what compromises are normal. That's how you become a confident buyer, not a reactive buyer. Step 6, know your leverage signals before you negotiate. This is the part that separates adults from the amateurs. Here are a few leverage signals that matter. How long has the home been on the market? If the home has been sitting and there are price reductions, your leverage is higher generally. If it hit the market yesterday, it's pristine, priced correctly, and has multiple showings, your leverage is lowered. What price range are we in? In Charlotte, different price points behave differently. A properly priced home under a certain threshold can sell fast because that's where demand clusters. Meanwhile, certain higher price points can be slower and more negotiable. What's the condition and presentation? A home that's show ready has less negotiation pain for a seller because they expect stronger demand. A home that needs cosmetic work, smells like old pets, has tired systems or looks neglected, that home often creates negotiation room. Not because the seller's bad, but because people are human. So what's the story? Is the seller relocating, already bought, divorce, estate, investor? I'm not trying to invade anyone's privacy here. I'm just saying that motivation matters. A motivated seller with a timeline negotiates differently than a seller who would sell if we get our number. Step 7, structure the offer like a problem solver, not a gambler. Most buyers think negotiation is like confrontation. It's not. Negotiation is problem solving. A strong offer answers the seller's questions even before they ask. Can you close? When can you close? Are you going to freak out during inspections? Is your financing solid? Are you going to nickel and dime us over everything? Or are you reasonable? Now, here's the part buyers need to hear, especially in 2026. You don't win by being aggressive. You win by being clear. Clarity is confidence. Confidence gets accepted. So, if I'm writing an offer with a buyer, we're deciding, do we want to push on price or do we want to push on closing costs? Do we want to push on a rate buy down, or do we want to push on repairs? Sometimes the correct play is not a lower price, it's a seller paid cost that reduces your cash to close and reduces your monthly payment. Sometimes the correct play is a clean price with clean terms because the home is in demand and you don't want to lose it. The point is there's no one size fits all, there's only strategy. Now let's tackle the biggest myth of 2026. Should I wait? Here's my answer, and it's probably not what you want to hear. Waiting is not a strategy, it's a decision, and you need to price that decision. Hear me on this. If you wait 6 months, what do you gain? Maybe rates drop a bit, maybe inventory rises a bit, maybe you have more choices, but what do you risk? Maybe prices rise, maybe competition rises because more buyers jump in when rates dip. Maybe you pay rent for 6 more months, maybe your life stays in limbo. So the right question is not, should I wait? The right question is, what is the cost of waiting and what is the cost of acting, and which cost am I more comfortable with? If you're relocating and you need stability, waiting can be emotionally expensive. If you're financially stretched and you're hoping rates drop enough to change your payment meaningfully, waiting might be rational. But don't let the internet decide for you. Run the math, run the timeline, then make a decision you can own. Now let's talk about one more thing that is quietly shaping the Charlotte market, and this matters if you're choosing between renting and buying. Charlotte has had a huge amount of apartment supply delivered, and in many segments, rents have stabilized compared to the rapid increase people got used to. That changes the rent versus buy conversation. If you can rent a place that fits your life while you learn the city and you're not rushing, that can be smart. But here's the trap. Some people rent for flexibility, and then they have to do the actual work to learn the city, learn the neighborhoods, and build a plan, and they never do. They just drift. So if you're gonna rent first, you gotta do it with a plan. Pick a target buying timeline, track neighborhoods every week, get your financing lined up, and treat renting as a research phase, not a forever pause button. Now, I want to address the new construction one more time because it's going to be one of the biggest decision points for Charlotte buyers in 2026. Here's when construction can be a great move. When you value predictability, when you want modern layouts, energy efficiency, and new systems, when the builder incentives create a real advantage compared to resale, when the community location actually matches your lifestyle. Here's when it can be the wrong move. When you're stretching financially and using the incentive to justify a payment you can't really afford long term, when you're buying a home that's priced above comps, above those resale options, and you're ignoring that just because the monthly payment looks good for the first year, when the builder contract timelines and terms just don't match your reality, when you don't understand the lot, the orientation, the future phases, and the resale implications, again, not anti-builder, just pro-clarity. Now, if you're still here with me, here's the simple summary of the 2026 Charlotte Buyer Playbook. Get clear on your decision framework first. Get solid financing. Stop obsessing over a single headline number. Choose zones strategically. Use leverage signals instead of emotion. Negotiate total cost, not just price. And when you see a deal, verify whether it's a deal in the real world, not just on a marketing flyer. Let me make this even more practical. If you're watching this and you're relocating to Charlotte, here are the 3 most important things you should do next. Number 1, decide what lifestyle you want. Urban, suburban, small town, feel, walkable, commute-based, school-based, or vibe-based. Number 2, decide your realistic monthly comfort number and get a lender who will actually help you structure smart options, not just approve you for the maximum. Number 3, talk to a local expert who can tell you which areas match your lifestyle and budget and who will tell you the truth even if it's not the fun answer, because the fun answer is usually the expensive one. And that's the whole point of this channel. I'm not here to hype Charlotte like a brochure. I'm here to help you make a smart decision in real Charlotte, the real neighborhoods, the numbers, and the trade-offs. So if you're planning to buy in the next 30 to 90 days, especially if you're relocating, here's what I want you to do. Reach out, tell me 2 things. Number 1, what's your timeline and what kind of life do you want to live here? Number 2, I'll tell you what areas fit, what you should expect in your price point, and what the smartest next move is based on the real market, not the internet's mood of the week. And if you want me to turn this into a specific plan, I can do that too. Because in 2026, the winners aren't the people who guessed the rate perfectly. The winners are the people who made a clear, informed decision and negotiated the deal like they knew what they were doing. If you want help doing that in Charlotte, I'm here to get into the specifics of your situation and what you're trying to accomplish. Thanks for watching.